And now we move on to the next news. The disruption from the COVID-19 and uncertainty about the lasting recovery are stark reminders of how unprepared transport and logistics are in the face of disruptions. Pandemic-related inducive shifts in supply, consumption and demand patterns, the rise in logistical bottlenecks, port congestion and delays, and surge in shipping rates and costs, and the deterioration in service reliability have all become a feature of the transport and logistics landscape. To discuss further on this with me, joining us live is Dr Puvaneaish Subramaniam, the president of the Persatuan Usahawan Logistik Semenanjung, Malaysia, or PULSE. Dr Puvaneaish, let's talk a little bit more about the notion of how we are in the recovery phase post-pandemic 19. Could you tell us a little bit more when it comes to the challenges facing by industry players right now?
Good morning.
Okay.
I'd like to first start about the post-pandemic. Presently, 80% of the logistic players are comprised of small and medium players. Okay, and post-pandemic has brought about a challenge to sustain the operational costs for many. Spare parts and lubrication costs has increased by 20% to 25% to 30%, and is becoming a concerning on the survival of the small and medium players, whereas our service charges remained the same for a long time. And we are actually urging and hoping that the government will look into how to reduce the import duties for parts and lubrication to help sustain our survival. On the other hand, reduction in the import duties on new green engine trucks will enable affordability and which greatly will contribute on operational and reduce maintenance costs, efficiency in the operation, efficiency in the control of carbon emission, or to consider waiver of SST for all new green engine trucks purchased by the SME logistics players to support this initiative to upgrade the logistics services in all aspects. This is also
in terms of how Peninsular Malaysia Logistics Entrepreneurs Association, your association, is viewing the current state of the logistics industry in Malaysia. Do you think that it has fully recovered and returned to normal?
Well, we are still on the process of recovery. As I mentioned, the cost of operation has increased, and that is something that we are still dealing with. And apart from that, there is also another unexpected challenge that we are presently facing is on shortage of drivers during the pandemic and also the post-pandemic. The e-hailing and e-commerce business has brought about some interesting changes which contributes to the shortage of drivers presently. And we realized that, we really need to look into another aspect of how to continue having more interested parties to become drivers, and we need to reconsider how we need to make it more attractive for this industry. And one of the things that we are actually now championing is on driver career development programs in order for this industry to sustain more professionally and churn more talents in this industry.
Okay, let's talk a bit more on that program, Dr. Puvaneaish, because there are a conversation that needs to be created right now in terms of the hopes and expectations of the upcoming budget, especially when it comes to logistics, training development that you speak of just now. What would be some of the wish lists that you think must be mentioned on air in terms of what you think is important for the 2023 budget to contain, including the support of these kind of driver training programs?
Yes, as I brought up earlier, I think the most important thing is sustainability, and that's definitely the cost of the import duties for the parts, and which is so essential, and lubrication is something that is something that we need to really consider in order for the players to sustain. And as a matter of fact, during the pandemic and post-pandemic, number of transporters has given up their business because they are able to continue. on the present rates that you are paying, so there is something is concerning because transport is part of the supply chain nationwide, without which we cannot fulfill an efficient supply chain. So this is something very concerning for us, and we are now, as from PALS, we are actually looking into how can we study this and how can we propose to the relevant agencies on looking into these matters more seriously. We understand all industry has got manpower shortage, but trucking is something that needs training, and this is very concerning, which will impact, eventually is going to impact our supply chain.
Do you have specific requests for the industry players, including the transfer of funds or funding policy into this? We are actually proposing this. We are actually proposing number of initiation with the relevant agency. As a matter of fact, we are having a dialogue session on this Saturday at Midland Convention Center, where we have invited all the relevant agencies to be part of a dialogue session to discuss on the ongoing situation on the ground, and also how we can work together to bring about some changes in the present situation. Do you feel that the present situation is or can be classified as currently critical in terms to be looked at, or do you feel that there are still some room to survive in terms of driver shortage?
Well, if you do not address it as quick and as possible, eventually it will become an issue. So we are looking into how can we quickly address this matter in a very a productive way or a positive way. And
I got two follow-up questions on that. Number one, how long, if things stay the way they are, how long until we reach that critical point? The second is, regionally, are other countries facing the same thing, or is it just peculiar to Malaysia?
Probably many countries are facing it, but then in Malaysia, in many countries, there is a union for trucking drivers and whatsoever, and they have protected in many legality. Whereas in Malaysia, it is a career where it's not been taken seriously, because we do not seem to have any kind of skill trainings for them. We do not have safety trainings for them. Whereas in many other career or profession, we have many trainings. So this is something that we need to look into, so that those who are going into driving a truck or looking into a truck as a business, they should understand this is going to be a professional career in the future. So we need to put some standards in place and some kind of career building in this particular area.
So who is supposed to set the standards, Dr. Puvaneaish? Is it the Transport Ministry? Is it the Human Resources? Who's supposed to do this?
Well, I believe the Ministry of Transport is also looking into this area, as for our recent discussion with them. Okay, and however, we need to, the industry players have to work together with this agency to bring about this change. So I do not think this is only a responsibility of certain agencies, but it's also on the logistic players' responsibility too.